The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm so glad you could be with me tonight with Dr. David Che, my monthly co-host, who I absolutely adore and who is actually probably one of the best law of attraction experts there is on the planet. And he wrote this fabulous book called Total Law of Attraction. And people love it. I mean, it's amazing, the response. He's a best-selling author in China. I just love it. And it's all about the law of attraction. Welcome, David, my friend. I'm so glad you're back.
Thanks, Jules, for having me, as always. It's always great to be back on the show.
It's always a delight for me. You bring a wealth of knowledge that a lot of times I haven't even heard of. But tonight, you said that we're going to be talking about the ultimate success formula, and right there I'm captivated.
Yes, I mean, the law of attraction is, one big law, and we can always talk a lot about that law. And on the flip side, there's always carrying over the law of attraction, the concepts into the real world, and how it applies to the real world. And so, the ultimate success formula, which we'll talk about, is a series of steps, which is kind of similar to the law of attraction, but is more geared towards real life practical use in our daily activities. So that's what the ultimate success formula is about. Is about translating law of attraction into real world practicality.
Oh, I love it. And that is, we all need to really comprehend this. So I'm going to turn it over to you so that we can get this great information. Okay.
So this ultimate success formula is basically a series of small steps, which I'll go through in detail about each one. And it can be used by a small child who's in school to a person of any age. It's a very practical concept, very practical series of steps. And whether you want to just build your own business, whether you want to succeed in life or anything, this is the system you have to use. And I read so many different books. Study the subject myself so long, and it all comes down to these steps, no matter what you do. So it doesn't matter what field you want to get into or what you want to do. This is what you need to know to really get it to go for you. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I am, and I got my pen and paper ready too.
Oh, okay. But for our listeners, I mean, you can get pen and paper, but I always like to simplify things. And again, you're listening to this recording of this video, so if there's any you don't have to really. To our listeners, you don't really have to just take all these notes and not focus on what we're talking about. Just sit back, listen to what I have to say, and then you can always go back to the video and go review some of the steps or information that you maybe didn't get the first time around.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, assuming I'm going to kind of go into my book a little bit just to pull some pieces out of it as we're going along, so you can kind of see that a lot of the steps here for success also kind of apply to the law of attraction too. So the very first step for the ultimate success formula is we have to be very specific about what it is we want, our goal. What is our goal? So again, this sounds really easy, and the law of attraction it is too. It's like when I tell people in law of attraction wise, like, okay, so you're using law of attraction, you want to manifest something, obviously, right? That's why you want to learn this. And it's like, oh, yes. I'm like, well, what is it you want? And then in the law of attraction, they're like, oh, well, I want to be rich. Or I want to be healthy. And it's like you have to be you have to be more specific than that. That's a very general thing. So let's shift over to the ultimate success formula. The ultimate success formula, the first step is you have to be very specific about your goal, about what it is you want. So, you go into business, you say, oh, well, I want to make this much money. I want to make, and I tell people in the beginning too, with the law of attraction and with this success formula is, okay, if you're starting out in this, why don't we just make a very small but maybe achievable goal? But let's be specific about it. So let's just not say, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Let's not do that. Let's not get out of control or anything like that. Let's just keep it simple. Let's say I want to make $200,000 this year, or if that's too much for you this time, make something that's believable to you at this time, but not too easy, but something that you have to work for, And so, if 200,000 is too much for you, you can say, oh, I want to make 100 or 50,000 this year in my business or something simple, but give yourself a specific number, not just something that, oh, I want to make more money this year, or I want to make money this year or something. Not something too broad. Let's make a concrete number down, and like I tell people, this is a lot harder than you think it is. And same with the law of attraction. When they're going through the law of attraction, most people can't even get this first step down. And of course, with anything in life, if you can't get the first step down, there's really no point in going to the other steps too. Yeah. So sit down, be honest with yourself. Talk to your friends, or just be honest with yourself, and just write down on a piece of paper what a specific goal for you, a very specific numerical goal, or something more specific than just a very broad want or goal that you want. And once we formulate something like that, then everything else starts to come into play. And so if you look at successful people in life that have success, they've all started out with a very specific goal. So for Tiger Woods, when he was a child, he already knew he wanted to be the best in golf. He knew this. It was a very specific goal he wanted to do. It wasn't like Tiger Woods said, "Oh, I want to be good in sports." That can mean anything. That's just a broad thing. You need to focus your energy onto one specific thing, because if you don't, you say, "Oh, I want to be good in sports," so you go and practice basketball, then you go practice football, then you go practice baseball. But if you're not focusing yourself on one specific thing, your energies will get dispersed to too many different things, and you can't become good at one thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Because as we notice with human beings, we're always, that's just the way human nature is, or the human mind works, is we usually want to focus our mind on one thing. And we get, when we major in college, we major in something, right? We can't major in 10 things, right? And then later on in life, we do a specific job. That's what we're geared to do, one thing at a time, right? We can't do too many things at one time.
Right.
That's how you get successful. So when we focus our mind on one specific thing, then everything else falls into play. If you don't, and you're all over the place, you're erratic, your mind is saying, oh, I want to do this today, I want to do this thing another day, then nothing really happens, because your energy is too wasted on too many different things instead of focused on one thing.
Got it. Well, that makes sense.
Yes,
so you should start with the numerical goal.
Or very specific goal. If it's not money, if it's, you want to be good at something or something, just make it very specific about what you want. It's not being broad, it's not being specific. That's the key. Because if you can't get this first step down, and again, at first glance, it sounds very simple. But for most people, it's not that simple once you tell them to narrow it down and become very specific.
I bet you almost 100% of people are putting down financial goals right now.
Yeah, financial, but all they're saying is, I want to be, I want to be rich, I want to have more money. But that's not specific. Or they go too above themselves. So I want to make $1 million next year when they're still making 100,000.
Right.
Come on, let's just start and be more realistic in the beginning, and then once you're able to get to this point, then you can move to the next point, and then move to the next point after that. I call it series of steps. Don't go from first grade to sixth grade overnight. You don't want to do that. Yeah.
That's a good analogy. Don't go from first grade to sixth grade overnight. Boy, that's brilliant.
Yes, and like I said, once we get this step down, then we can kind of start moving forward in the steps, as with the law of attraction and as with the ultimate success formula. Okay, so now the next step, it comes down to kind of 4 steps. So the next step is, after you decided what it is you want, the goal that is, and you have it set in your mind, the next step is to develop a strategy. Now, what does that mean? It means, okay, so you have this goal that you want, right? And then what are your steps that you're going to take? What kind of things that you have in mind that you're going to do to get you to this goal? And again, it's going to take a little thinking involved. So once you know what you want, so let's just say, for example, I want to be good in baseball, right? For example, right? Okay. Well, if you want to be good in baseball, then you got to form a series of steps of what you want to do to get good. Oh, do I need to go out and practice this? Do I need to go out and practice that? Or if it's a business, let's say I want to make this much money per year, right? Well, then you have to create steps for yourself to say, okay, what is it going to take for me to, to create this? Do I need to borrow more money? Do I need to hire more employees? There's a series of steps you have to do to get to that, and it's a step-by-step thing in itself to develop a strategy.
I see.
And so, most people don't realize is, if you say you want to make 10,000 a month versus 100,000, 15,000, 20,000, okay, let's go to 100,000. Can you make? Let's say that you have a certain business and you want to increase it, from 10,000 to 100,000. Well, the thing you have to keep in mind is, in realistic terms, making 10,000 a month, the technique and strategies of making 10,000 versus making 100,000 is different. There's different strategies to different things. It's not saying nothing's impossible. It's just that the strategies required to do one thing is going to be totally different than another when you're talking about big dollars, And so let's say some people say, I want to make $1 million a month. Well, if you're running just this small business, yeah, $1 million a month is probably going to be impossible, quotation marks, right?
Right.
But let's say you wanted to make that kind of money. Well, maybe this. I'm just giving examples here too. A strategy would mean, okay, maybe you have to open a second business or a third business and create a franchise out of your business in order to make that kind of money per month.
Yeah.
So if your restaurant is this, well, then you might have to turn. That's how franchises work, right? Like most of these Kentucky Fried Chickens and things and businesses all started out as one business, right? A long time ago. And how is it that they're making so much money? Well, they branched out and they've created so many more businesses to generate that kind of income, that kind of money. To turn into a franchise.
So that's what you have to put down in your developing your strategy.
Yeah.
Is knowing that your business is going to grow. You have to develop the step-by-step approach that you have to take in order to reach that financial goal. Yes,
and it's going to take some time to figure this stuff out and just maybe take some courses or study the certain things, business things. But again, if you're happy with 10,000 a month, that's fine. But if let's say you want to do more than that, well, then the strategies to creating more money is going to be different than what you've been doing already. You can't just rely on that one strategy. You see what I'm saying? You have to change your strategy in order to increase it your income and things of the sort. And it's not just income; it's to say sports, certain things too, or any other kind of thing in life that you want to try to accomplish. It's to change a certain way you're doing a certain outcome. You have to change your strategy. So.
Okay, let me stop you there, and we're going to go on your expertise, which is about you are a best-selling author. And I know a lot of listeners are trying to become that best-selling author.
Okay.
How do you strategize for that?
Well, trying to become an author is, I'm going to tell you, it's really hard. And if it wasn't a lot of things that happened to go my way, I can tell listeners that it'd probably be really difficult for me for what has happened to me, so
but the law of attraction played a part in yours.
Yes, it did. I have to say that too. I want to say trying to become an author is a kind of a different kind of, I would say, field than a regular business, like setting up a small business. Let's say you want to open up a restaurant, open up your own business or something, right, that you're good at, a hair salon or something. It's a little different, because in this industry, and we can talk about this later in the show, but and I said I haven't gone into all the steps.
Oh yeah.
So as I get into these steps, it's going to kind of make more sense of what we're going to do.
I jumped the gun again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Actually, the next step is going to kind of The next step is going to kind of go more into and I'll go back to the author thing too.
Okay.
So the first two steps. Okay, one, decide clearly what you want, or also formulate a very specific. I'm going to stress the word specific goal. Okay. 2, develop a strategy. And again, none of these things are going to be perfect. In the beginning, it's like writing a rough draft of something, right? It's not going to be perfect the first time. You might have to change it along the way as you go, right?
Which is good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough draft. Okay, so the third step is, and this is also in the law of attraction too, but the third step in this is taking massive action and consistent action too. Because
Yes.
some people, they think of stuff, they get goals, they develop a strategy, but they never get off their chairs and do anything about it.
Yeah.
There's no action. There's no physical action. It's like a lot of our politicians these days, they all talk, no action, right? Right? Without
Yeah.
naming anybody in particular, but that's kind of how we view politicians, right?
Right.
All talk, no action, so nothing happens, right?
Right.
And I want to quote Jack Canfield on this, right? Because he's one of our great experts on law of attraction. Look at the last 6 words of the word attraction. The 6 letters of the word attraction. What does that spell?
Attract.
No, the word attraction. What are the last 6 letters of the word attraction?
Oh.
Action.
Action.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I heard this from Jack, I thought it was amazing. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that before. The last 6 letters of the word attraction is action. So without taking action, you can't have attraction.
Oh,
Right?
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant.
in order to create attraction to something, you have to take action.
Right.
So that's one of the greatest quotes I think I ever got from Jack. Listen to his seminars and talking, and hearing what he said. That's totally true. So
I agree.
once you formulate your goal, once you have your strategy, now it's time to start taking physical action.
Okay.
So let's say it takes money, and like with any business, and in order to make money, you have to spend money, right? We all know that. That's
Right.
That's another law too. Of course, some people don't understand that. If you want to create money, you first have to spend money. I don't care what business you're getting into. That's just the law too. Okay, so for those of you who think that you're gonna make money without having to spend money, no way. I don't care who you talk to. In order to make money, you have to first spend money on something. Okay, so let's say you want to start your own business. Okay, you have to spend money to you have to get a loan of somehow to create this business, right? Then, like with anything. So that's taking action. That's the example of taking action. You need to go to the bank. You need to get a loan. You need to do something to get yourself some equity, to get yourself some money to start out doing this business, to create this business. That's taking action. Maybe in the beginning it's just you, or maybe you have to hire employees to help you run this business. That's taking more action again. So taking action is huge. If you don't take physical action, I guarantee you nothing is going to happen.
I agree.
Yes. And let's just, since you mentioned author thing, let's put this into play. Okay, so let's say you're an author, right? Okay, well, you have this goal. What is it you want to do with your book? Okay, strategy. You have your strategy out. But then if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen either. And what's an example of action? Well, is your manuscript sitting in your computer doing nothing? Well, maybe you need to have it cleaned up. Maybe you need to have the manuscript really nicely, professionally made, so it's presentable, right?
Right.
So the next step is, are you going to self-publish or go with a big publisher? Well, of course, everybody's dream is to become signed with a big publisher, right?
Right.
So if you're going to be signed with a big publisher, you have to take a lot of action. You have to find agents to pitch your book to, which that in itself is probably a very difficult task too. Which I'm not going to say it's easy; it's very difficult. But again, the point here is you're taking action, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
that action will actually lead you to the right publisher, even though it's a lot of work to find it.
yes, it's a lot of work to do it, because one thing you have to understand is the difference between being an author and trying to get published with a major publisher. Now, if you're self-publishing, that's 10 times, 100,000 times easier. Okay, but if you're trying to go with a big publisher, it's different than with a business, because if I want to start my own restaurant, if I want to start my own business doing something, I can do this on my own. I can go get a loan. I can find a location. I can rent a space.
Yeah.
I can make this happen. Okay, and again, that's not easy in itself, but trying to become an author with a publisher is much different, because you have to, publishers don't just take authors. You have to find agents, right?
Right.
And this agent, a typical agent, I don't want to give numbers, specific numbers, but I knew one literary agent, and he wasn't even a big time agent. He was telling me he had like 500 submissions a month from authors.
Wow.
500. He was one of the no-name agents that I can say. Okay. Now, talk about a big agent. They can have probably 1,000 at least a month submissions. So think of yourself as an agent. How many emails are you getting a day from authors? Okay. Just put yourself in that position. So when you bring in authors and ultimate success from one, that's probably, that's a topic in and of itself.
Right,
You know,
right.
versus just creating your own business or trying to become good at a sport or doing something. You know, that's a totally different subject almost in itself. But again, you can use these principles in that. But again, there's still a lot of things you need to know when you're trying to become an author and trying to get published.
Yeah, because you're really depending on somebody to pick you up. Whereas if you started
Yes,
your own business and be just an
exactly.
entrepreneur, you have more power because you alone are taking the action steps.
Yes, yes. So to give extreme examples, guys like Steve Jobs for Apple, Michael Dell, or Bill Gates. I mean, these guys essentially started their business in their dorms or in their garages.
Right.
No, they weren't competing with anybody. Because they had an idea that no one else had. They didn't have to rely on anybody to get them to where they're going to go.
I
Whereas when you're
see.
an author, you're basically at the mercy of an agent.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
For the
Right.
agent to even respond to your email, not to mention reply to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different animal, we call it. When trying to get published versus just trying to like you said the word entrepreneur. You have this idea that no one else has. Well, then no one's competing against you. When you're trying to become an author, you're competing against 1,000 other authors trying to get the same attention of an agent. You see?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's it's a slightly different subject.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. Oh, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
you are more powerful as an entrepreneur where you don't have to depend on other people picking you up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And
got it.
since we're on the subject, just so our readers know, assuming you're into this publishing thing, the author of Harry Potter, and we know how huge Harry Potter is, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
huge. Okay, just beyond the imagination, right? J.K. Rowling was, for your information, she was rejected 12 times
Wow.
by publishers. Yeah, Harry Potter was rejected 12 times, and all these other agents, or I'm sorry, publishers are telling her that you can't make it with a kids book. Yeah, and I know 13 is a bad number, but I believe my facts are correct that number 13 took her, publisher or something, took her.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and now she's one of the wealthiest authors in the world.
Yes, yes. And
Holy
and,
smokes.
and we had mentioned Jack, Canfield before too. So I kind of just want to bring Jack into this. His Chicken Soup for the Soul is rejected by like every single publisher.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and he'll tell you himself.
Yeah.
So
We heard that. Yeah.
so even for these superstars we call it, they had a really hard time. Okay, they had a
Exactly.
super hard time. So for the average person trying to become published, let me just tell you, I don't want to say anything is impossible, but it's really, really hard. It's hard for the superstars. So what does it make for everybody else, right?
Well, it makes you have
Yeah.
the determination to
Yeah.
start it and go on your own
Yeah.
action. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to be determined.
Okay, yes. So now that we have the 3 steps, your goals, we formulate our goals. We have the strategies, dealing some
Right.
strategies. Next is taking action, right?
Right.
Okay. So what happens after you take action? Well, if you're like the rest of us, like every single person, if you're taking action, you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to hit failure. If the world was that easy, all of us would be taking action and every single one of us would be successful, right?
Right.
We'd all be published authors, every single one of us, right?
Right.
Okay. But unfortunately, in the real world, when you start to take action, you're going to hit roadblocks. No question about it. In fact, usually the more action you take, the more failure you're going to hit.
Really?
Yes. That's the way life works, right? Okay. And before I told you about J.K. Rowling and Jack, most people probably didn't even know that they were rejected that many times.
No.
No, they
I
just
hadn't.
thought you only see these superstars. You only see their success. You rarely ever hear about their failures.
That's why there's really no such thing as an overnight success story.
No. Save perhaps you win the next Powerball, but that in itself is a super small chance too, But for practically speaking, no. The more action you're going to take, the more failure you're going to hit, and so you're going to say, well, how does this and the law of attraction kind of connect with each other? Well, if you go to my book, which talks about this too, this is the part of detachment. You see?
Oh.
And I'm not going to talk too much in detachment because I've talked a lot about it already, and our listeners can go to your previous videos, and it's in the book too. But that's when you're trying to connect the ultimate success formula with the law of attraction, this is the detachment part. That's the failure part, detachment and failure. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the focus onto the failure part for this segment of the video.
Okay.
So here's the thing: all of us are gonna hit failure, right? But the trick is how do we handle failure? That's the right word to put it.
Right.
How do we handle failure? And usually there's 3 ways that people handle failure. Okay, and this is all part of the ultimate success formula. First way to deal with failure is most people, they start making excuses, all these different excuses and reasons why it didn't work, and then they give up and they throw their hands up and say, "See you later," and then everything fails. So what's the statistic? I don't know the exact number. 80% of small businesses fail within the first year or something like that. That's what they think, right? Okay. So a lot of people fall into this category of failure, the first category. Okay. So now the second category is, okay, so I failed. What's that saying? I heard in cartoons when I was a kid. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again, right?
That's right.
All right, you hear that? Okay. So what they do is they take action, they fail, which definitely happens. Then they start taking the same action, and then they go back and they fail, and then it's like a big cycle. And they fail and they take the same action. Well, I don't know who said this, but they said if you keep doing the same things, you're gonna keep getting the same results.
Right.
So you just keep doing it, and it's definitely you're to be applauded for the determination, the drive to keep taking action, right?
Right.
But a lot of this is wasted action because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're gonna keep getting the same result over and over again. Right.
Right.
Okay. So and that's where the third category comes in. The third category is really important. Remember, the first category was just throw your hands up, make excuses, and quit, right? The second one is you keep taking the same action. You fail. You take action, you fail, and you keep getting the same results. So you keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
The third one is you take action, you fail, and you see failure as feedback, not as failure.
Gosh, yeah.
Okay, so you see failure as feedback, and with feedback, here's the thing. Okay, so I got feedback. Okay, so if I'm failing, what am I doing wrong? Why don't I take this feedback, go back, change my strategy, and take action again?
Right.
Okay, I'm still my drive is still there. I'm still taking action, but now I changed my approach slightly, and I take action again. And so what if I fail again?
So if something's not selling, then you go back and you re-examine why it's not selling so that you improve it so it does sell.
Exactly. And let's just use another prime example. Okay, everybody knows historically that Thomas Edison discovered the light bulb, right? Invented the light bulb, right? Okay.
Right.
But what most people don't know is that Thomas Edison, the legend has it, he worked on it 9,999 times, or something, or 900, I don't know, 999 times before he finally got to the 1,000 or the 10,000 tries he did.
Right.
Okay. The point is, he failed like that many times before he finally, and he went back and tweaked it out a little bit before, and then tried again, failed, went back, tweaked it again, right? And then finally, after tweaking it that many times, he got it.
Right.
Right. And so, Edison's a prime example of what I'm talking about here. Oh, I'm okay. So my notes here said it took Edison almost 10,000 attempts. So he went back and modified his strategy or his technique 9,999 times before finally he got to 10,000. And he finally invented the light bulb.
And it took that many times for him to perfect it. It may only take another person 1,000 times, but it took Edison, the genius, into doing 10,000 times.
Yes.
It's all worth it to get down to the nitty gritty.
Yes, assuming you go back and change modify your strategy. If you keep doing the same exact thing over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same results.
Right.
And again, with publishing, and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. You can't apply so much to what I'm telling here always to publishing, because we have to modify a little bit what I'm talking about to publishing. For authors. Okay. So again, Thomas Edison took it as feedback. He failed. He got some feedback. He went back, tweaked his strategy, and then went, and tried again. And keep trying it again and trying again. His experiments, that is. He tweaked his experiments and attempts. So it made it to where he wanted to go. So it's all about finding feedback.
Right. That is so good. I so appreciate that.
Yes. So, you don't want to fall into the pattern where the first pattern, again, you just give up. And so many people just do that, and it's easy because a lot of times if you take an action, you put so much work into it, and you fail. You're bound to fail. You hit failure, and you're like, oh, I just don't want to do this no more. I don't think it was right for me.
Yeah, and really, it's too early for you to quit.
Yes. And since we're on this subject, I want to throw out this priceless secret. It really is. Since this is kind of outside the ultimate success formula, but I want to throw this in for entrepreneurs. Okay, I don't know if I talked about this in a previous segment or anything, but I really want to throw this into this segment. And this thing, what I'm going to say here now, is worth its weight in pure gold and can save you a ton of headaches. And the thing is, it's so simple. A lot of these things are so simple that I'm talking about, but it's never talked about. It's so simple, and these are priceless, simple secrets. And I specialize in giving people priceless, simple secrets, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be shocked at what I'm going to reveal here. You'd be shocked about how many business courses don't even talk about this. You can go for 4 years of business school, and they're not going to even tell you what I'm about to tell you in like one sentence or just 5 minutes here. Okay, this is like a secret to like doing business. Okay. Okay, so here it is. So listen. So all listeners, get ready. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so before you embark on any kind of entrepreneurial thing you want to do, let's say you want to open a hair salon, right? Or you want to start a restaurant, or you want to just anything. Okay. Here's the secret. First, go out and survey if there's a need for your services.
Boy.
Now, this may sound so simple, like dead simple, like crazy, stupid simple, but you'd be shocked at how many small businesses in America are created without even doing what I just told you right there.
You're absolutely right.
Okay? It's amazing. So when they say 80% of small businesses fail, I'm telling you, or 90% in the first year, it's because of missing that one super simple step. So, for example, let's say I want to open a hair salon, right? Okay. So I didn't do my research. I didn't survey my area, the area that I'm in, if there's a need for my service.
Right.
Okay. So I invest all this money to create this, to build my shop and everything, and then I realize I have no customers. No one's coming in. Right?
Yeah.
Then what happens then? I go bankrupt pretty fast because I have no income coming in to pay my loans off. Okay. So that's one example. But let me give you another good example. Since you want to talk about publishing, right? Let me throw publishing into this, okay? An author, right? Okay. So when I was going to self-publish my book, my guy that was helping print my book out, a publisher, okay? The self-publisher, okay? No names here. I'm not going to give any names, okay? But there was another author in there that was publishing a book. And are you ready for this? Let me give you the title of this book, okay? This book was called How to Memorize the Bible.
Ow.
Okay. Now, Jules, I know you know a lot of people that are probably religious that go to church, okay? But name me one person, or not name me, but tell me if you know anybody that wants to memorize the Bible, memorize the entire Bible.
Why would you want to? You could just go to the book and read it. Why would you want to memorize it?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. And the scary thing is there are a lot of authors out there that are doing books, not but the Bible, but just doing books that no one wants to read. No one cares about.
Exactly.
And wondering why they're not getting published, right?
Right.
So
it's an excellent point.
So that gold mine of a secret that I just told you, before you embark on anything and doing anything, if you're trying to make money on it or you want to create profits on it, first do a simple survey and see if there is a demand for what it is you're trying to do. This is the secret to cash flow. Trying to get into a business or doing something is to first survey or do an evaluation, just a quick evaluation first before you invest all this money into it. Is there a market? Is there a demand? Is there a want for your product or the service that you are trying to get into
Start
business
up.
for. Start up, yes.
You
So
know
if you're-
what they said, that during the Depression, there were more millionaires created because they were fulfilling the need.
Yes. Yes.
And the really successful people did a survey. They saw what was really lacking that everybody was craving.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's to your point.
Yes.
They had to figure out what it was that everybody needed and wanted
Yes.
and couldn't get.
So just to give you another example, okay, so, and to no surprise, the guy that printed that book, How to Memorize the Bible, he had like 1,000 copies or more sitting in his, he printed it out. He thought, the publisher told me this, the guy thought the world was going to come begging in his footsteps the minute he published this book. Well, last
Wow.
I heard, he's got crates of his book sitting in some storage unit with air conditioning. He's paying storage and he's losing money because he's not selling any books, and he's paying money to keep this air conditioning going.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what not surveying does.
Yes, yes. And so let me give you another example myself. Okay, so there's no books out there ever published on a book called How to Memorize the Bible, and yet when this guy published it, no one wanted it, right? Because there was no demand for it, no need for it, right?
Right.
Well, in my personal situation, my book was self-published in 2010. How many Law of Attraction books do you think were already in existence in 2010? A ton.
Yeah, there were
Okay.
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would make me want to publish a book on the Law of Attraction when there are already a ton? The Secret came out in 2006, right? And we know
Right.
before 2006 there were already Law of Attraction books before The Secret. But after The Secret it got so popular, there were a ton of books because they wanted to bank on The Secret's popularity, right? We know that.
Right.
Right? Okay. So here's me in 2010. What made me want to publish this book? My book, right? Like, what's the point of it? Well, I surveyed. Like, I talked to people. Like, I would read Law of Attraction books, and I would be like, okay, well, there's so many Law of Attraction books, but none of them talk about this. None of them talk about this. And none of them talk about this. None of them puts it together in a really easy to read format, right?
Exactly. They really made it difficult to understand.
Dan. So I surveyed. I would do seminars, and I'd be like, do you think that this book has this? No. And people would tell me, we really need a Law of Attraction book that says what you're talking about. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. I mean, everybody's telling me that, saying, even though there's so many Law of Attraction books, David, you need to write a book that has all these things. So I was like, really? Okay, well, then now I knew there's a demand for it then. Even though there's so many other books on the market, people are telling me that there's a demand for what I'm talking about.
Wow, you see, that is a brilliant strategy right there.
Yes, this is. I mean, what I just said. This priceless strategy is before you. I'm going to say it a million times, and I know you get sick of me saying it. Before you embark on any type of endeavor or business or any kind of entrepreneurship, first survey and see if there is a market for a service or product that you want to create. Because if you don't, and you just go ahead and spend all this money to create it, you are going to lose your butt and money for doing and then the show for it.
Right.
Before you spend all this time writing a book, to go back How to Memorize the Bible and spend all this money publishing it, you better be sure that there's a market that wants your product. Otherwise, you will go dead broke. That's just the reality of life is.
Right.
So many products, so many businesses, you'd be shocked, are started up and go bankrupt and fail because the person that did it never bothered to survey the market of whether there was any demand for what they want. It sounds crazy simple, but it's amazing. People just randomly start creating a product thinking that it's going to sell, thinking that it's going to be okay, it's going to be great. A lot of people think that way. Yeah.
And with the Law of Attraction, they think if I stay focused on just that one thought, it's going to materialize. The truth of the matter is that's kind of magical thinking.
Yes. So
without action.
Yeah. So our show is different than every other show out there because we take the Law of Attraction and we make practicality out of it instead of just making it wishful thinking and magical thinking. We take the Law of Attraction and we're here to make it super practical in real life and tell you the realities of it instead of just blowing your mind with wishful thinking and magical thinking. That's what we're doing right now. I'm telling you right now, this is what we're doing. Yep. And to take our step further, if you really want to create a business or doing something that is almost going to guarantee you money. And let me share this secret with you right now. Get yourself in a business. Do something that solves people's problems. So why is it doctors and lawyers are always in business? Because we're always solving problems. With lawyers, it's people's business problems, marital problems, real estate problems, all kinds of law issues, right? That's why they're always in business. Why are doctors always in business? Because we're always solving people's medical problems. There's always those kind of problems.
Right.
But you're not just limited to those. Well, plumbers, what do they solve? They solve people's water problems, right? If you solve people's problems, if you can get into a business or write a book that can solve people's problems, a good one, then you will be in business. You don't always have to do it. And I'm not saying that's the only way to make a business. Now, if you say, oh, I want to start this restaurant. There's people that want to have this kind of food in this kind of area that I'm living in. Okay, you can do well. I'm just using an example here. If you really wanted to get in business where you're going to have cash flow coming in, get yourself into a business where you're solving people's problems.
Right, and that's what you're doing with Total Law of Attraction. You're solving people's problem and bringing them into the reality of Law of Attraction. And that's what I tried to do with the network and the magazine as well.
Yeah, so if you go back to all things that we've done or done, it comes down to that concept. We're solving people's problems. You might be good at talking to people and making people feel better. Well, go become a psychologist. They solve people's problems just by people talking to them makes them feel better. Right. As a psychologist, all doctors are solving people's problems. All lawyers are solving people's problems. We're solving people's problems. So, but it doesn't have to just be this. There's so many things you can do where you're solving people's problems. People make a living fixing dents on people's cars because everybody's getting dents every day, right? Right. So you can become a dent specialist and make a lot of money on it because you're solving someone's problem. You see?
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's so many things you can get into, and talking about the flip side of it, when you say publishing, I'd say it's a different endeavor. There's so many authors that are out there writing their book thinking that's the next bestseller when they didn't survey the market to see if there is a demand for their book or there's a want for their book.
That's huge.
Yes. So many people are pitching agents that have no interest in their work. It's just people aren't doing their homework. Do your homework before you get involved in any kind of business. Do your homework first. Don't just randomly, because you will definitely face the realities of it if you don't do that.
Even with self-publishing.
Yes.
You have to still do these steps.
Of course.
And you don't. Yeah. But then you have to take real action step and stay focused like you did.
Yes.
All the way through after it was published, and then you got it published by Simon & Schuster, and then it kept on going. You stayed focused on your goal.
Yes, and to just go back to what I said was, even though there were thousands of Law of Attraction books on the market already, I did an indirect survey. People were telling me when I would give seminars and tell people about the Law of Attraction and teach them how to work it. I didn't have a book that time. People were telling me that I needed to put what I was saying, even though they'd read all of the books already, even though what I was saying into a book format, so it was going to do well. Like, people would be interested in it, compared to the guy where he was writing a book about memorizing the Bible when there was no other books on the market. Even though his was the only book on the market, it wouldn't sell because there was no market for it. Whereas mine was competing against thousands of other books, and it was still selling well because there's a market for it. That's the whole idea.
There's a market to simplify it to make it easy to understand.
Yes.
And that's what you accomplished. That's what sets you apart from other books.
Yes. When you're solving someone's problem, especially if it's a unique problem, there's almost no limit. I mean, how often do we say there's too many lawyers, too many doctors? It almost seems like there's never enough, right? There's always too many. There's always too many because everybody always has problems, and you can solve it. Now for our listeners, just want to throw it out there. If you go and teach and learn a skill, train yourself in a skill, get yourself educated, the more unique the skill or the product that you can, or let's say skill in this case, the more unique the skill that you can solve someone's problem with, the more demand you're going to be in, and the more money you're going to make, because you're the one that can solve this problem. So
again, you have to research.
Yes.
And strategize on how to make yourself unique.
Yes. So Let me give one crazy example, of this because it highlights what I'm going to say. Okay. So there's some guy, criminal, right? Terrorist. He committed some crime, and then he had an iPhone, and the FBI was trying to unlock his iPhone because
Right.
we all have passwords on it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Apple has a very super duper impossible to break code to get in, right?
Right.
So the judge asked Apple to see if they can unlock this phone for the FBI, right? And Apple
Yeah.
goes, no, because if we do it for you, we have to do it for everybody then, right? Okay, so there's this phone is locked with all this information that they can't get to. Well, eventually they find this one guy. I don't know where he is in the world. The FBI finds this one guy that can do it, that claims he can do it. He knows he can do it, right? Well, it's a very specific skill. The FBI has a pressing problem, right? They want to unlock this phone, right, to get to the guy. And this guy has the one unique skill that can solve this problem.
Oh God.
Guess how much he charged the FBI to just unlock the phone for him?
How much?
$1 million.
Oh
I think.
my gosh. Wow. Wow.
The point of the whole, what I'm trying to say is not so much that. I'm just giving an extreme example. The whole point of it is you want to make money, you listen to this show, you want to make yourself better, you want to make money, or you want to get yourself in a business, or use my strategy or my principle. Go and learn a skill, learn something. But the more unique the skill you can do, the more you're going to be in demand, the more money you're going to make because your skill is so unique.
Wow. So wouldn't you have to stay in tune to what's going on outside of you
Yes.
so that you can, for that guy to understand, hey, wait a minute, I need to go to them because I have the skill that they're looking for.
Yes.
And I'm the only one, so I'm going to charge you $1 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
You have to stay in tune with what's going on in the world. You have to be aware. You can't just be hiding in your office, not seeing the rest of the world.
Exactly. So marketing yourself is really important too, in the success too. So taking action, part of it. So again, setting goals, developing a strategy, taking action. Taking action involves so many steps. And if you're doing a business, one of them is you have to market yourself. So even though you have a good product and you have a good service in demand, you want to market yourself still. But
Right.
as I want to tell people though, if you're doing a small business and you're doing really really well, marketing is important, but you want to rely on word of mouth because that's the best kind of advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't realize, they don't know this thing about Google. Google is huge, right? We all know Google, right? Google
Right.
never advertises. Google has never advertised before, and they're huge
Wow.
because everything was based on word of mouth.
Wow.
So your business to start up, you might need some advertising to get the word out. But if you're good and you take care of your customers and they tell more people about you, your advertising should be minimal.
You know what? You're right, because the same thing with the network.
Yes.
We put it out and it kept on growing and growing by word of mouth.
Yes.
And look where we are today in all these different countries.
Yes.
By word of mouth.
Yes.
Because I haven't advertised.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with advertising. All the power to you. If you want to advertise, that's great. That's awesome to do. But I'm just saying, it's in a business, don't just go after the money. You got to take care of your customers. I think I want to say it was the founder of McDonald's who said, "You take care of your customers, your business will take care of itself."
Right.
You
True.
know? So, to all our authors, any kind of person trying to get into business, just mark my words. Survey, do a research, Google it. Google your business, what you want to do. If there's a demand for your service, you'll know about it. Don't just go blind into a business or create a product or do something that you didn't do your homework on, and there's no market for your service, because you will definitely lose your shirt on it. There's definitely, I heard a story of one time some woman created a product to open up a business, didn't do her homework, didn't survey it, just thinking that people would just come to her door and whatever. And some guy who opened up a business, a mediocre service, wasn't anything special, but he surveyed the business, his area, and realized that there was a high demand for her service. Well, he was banking it in, while the woman that didn't do her homework and thinking that everybody was gonna come to her door did absolutely no business. And this guy was the one that really made out, because he did his homework before, even though his service was so common compared to what the woman was offering.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a person sets up a restaurant, right?
Yes.
And how then does he get the first person to walk in the door?
Well, again, the first did the person research his business, and see that if this restaurant, if people are gonna in this area are going to like their kind of food that they're gonna be offering. Yes, they do that. I think if he did it correctly, people are gonna flock in just by driving by and seeing the sign grand opening.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, but
Okay.
yeah, if your area says, oh, I don't have a Chick-fil-A, or I don't have a Burger King, I don't have McDonald's, or something, we could really use one here, and you surveyed the market. Is there one? Is there a market for yours? If there is, then boom, it's gonna take a huge investment like anything else, but like with any business, it's gonna take money to make money. But if you did your homework, that's the key. Doing your homework before, always examining the market, surveying the market if there's a need for your product. For every business and product that we see succeed, there has to be hundreds where people just invented it thinking that it was going to sell, but it didn't sell. They didn't, because there was no need for it. People didn't want it. There's so many products like that we aren't aware of. We only know the ones that made it. We don't see the ones that didn't.
That's so true.
Oh yes. The as seen on TV products that we see all the time. For every one you see in a commercial, there's got to be hundreds that people applied for that didn't make the cut.
Wow.
Yeah. So the ultimate success floor, I kind of gave it, you can say three or four steps: goal, strategy, action,
Right.
and then feedback. From failure, right? So there's actually two more things that actually, activate or make the ultimate success formula work. And what are these two things? It's our beliefs and our values. Okay.
And that's the law of attraction right there.
Yes. I mean, if you go to my book, the first chapter that I talk about in my book is beliefs. Right? It all starts with our beliefs. Now, our beliefs, where do they come from? Now, when we're born as babies and as we grow up, most of the time our beliefs are from our parents, our relatives, people that we grew up with, our friends. They kind of ingrained our beliefs into us. It's kind of our foundation of what we think all the time, because our beliefs control what we think, what we believe
Right.
in. So our beliefs. So this is kind of the foundation of where we start from. Our values are like one word things like success, failure, health. Just one word things like what else? Freedom, security, love, happiness. These all drive our beliefs plus our values as the force behind the ultimate success formula and whether it's going to work or not. So if you grew up in a family where success wasn't big, big success, this might be your beliefs and values. So when you start to take action, it's going to affect you, because the first sign of failure, you might just give up, right? Mm-hmm. So, outside the 4-step success formula, the beliefs and values are really control or is the force behind how the 4 steps work. And these beliefs and values have to be in alignment with our goals. If your goal is this and your value is something else, if these two aren't in alignment, then it's not going to work out. The success formula is not going to work. So that's why you have to make sure everything is in alignment.
So how do you correct, or how do you can change your beliefs? So is it just to be aware of your beliefs so that it doesn't hamper you, or that it will lead you to success?
Well, changing our beliefs is tough because we're so ingrained in our beliefs, right?
We are.
So changing is difficult, and changing it takes a lot of work because we're creatures of habit, So we're gonna have to it's gonna take some work to change our beliefs. So, for example, let's say people tell you, "Oh, you're too young, you can't become a millionaire." So that's your belief, right? But you should go online, or go to books, or go online and start searching. Oh, Mark Zuckerberg. Well, he was really young when he became a billionaire, right? Or millionaire, right?
Yeah.
You can find so many examples of people where they were younger, where they become millionaires. Well, once you see that can change your belief then. When you go and find examples of things that contradict to what people tell you or what you believe in, and see that it's possible, then that can change your belief.
Wow.
You see?
So what you're saying then is turn to the places where you can get motivated and focused in on what you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And our beliefs are
Oh, that's
super
good.
powerful. Our beliefs are so powerful. I mean, there have been experiments where they've done with people in hospitals where they thought they were terminally ill, right? And these doctors would come in and just inject saline water into their system and tell them that it's this miracle drug that they've been testing that can cure their problem. And and their belief was so strong that this thing can cure them that they got better. Their test results were getting better.
Right. Placebo effect.
Placebo effect. It's true. It's 100% true because our beliefs control our entire destiny. That's why the first chapter of my book is on beliefs.
Isn't that something?
And but the footnote is once these patients were told that it wasn't a drug after all, it was just saline water, they actually died.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they believed that there was no hope for them. See, they used that word belief. When you believe it can be done, it was done. When they believed that it wasn't a drug, they believed that it was going to fail, they died.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah. So for our listeners, the 4-step success formula is all laid out, and our beliefs and our values have to be in alignment with the 4-step success formula. Because if your beliefs and values are about failure and not succeeding, then that ultimate success formula is not lined up with your beliefs and values. So it's not going to work.
So you have to take your beliefs and values. You have to go back to step 1, see if it matches. Step 2, see if it matches.
Yes.
Step 3. So you have to keep it and go back to verify. Okay, and that will keep you on track.
Yes. And all successful people in history have at one time or another gone by this formula, the steps that I'm talking about.
Wow, this is hot. This is really good stuff. And something that everybody needs to know.
Yes.
Right now, especially because 2017 is about starting new businesses, starting new opportunities.
Yes.
This is exactly what we need to be talking about.
Yes. And I tell my listeners, tell people in Law of Attraction, first, if you're just starting out, you're not experienced, start out with something small, but that puts you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Don't start out too huge and go for something so big, and it's going to just kind of discourage you. Start something small, but out of your comfort zone, because you make it too easy, then it's too easy. Then, there's no joy and accomplishment. Start with something small, outside your comfort zone. Once you reach that, then increase your goal. Go a little bit more outside your comfort zone, step by step. And eventually it's going to take you to where you want to go.
It's so true. Yeah, I got to tell you, the first show I did, I was so scared, my heart was in my throat. So I didn't know what I was doing, but that's exactly what you're saying, because I had to step outside my comfort zone, and it manifested, and I kept on going, and it was aligned with my beliefs. I did the steps, and look where we are today, David.
Yes, and for myself, when I was trying to get my book noticed, I hired a publicist, which again in itself is expensive, but she got me onto a few television stations. And
Right.
And I remember my first television interview. I was nervous as all heck. I was like, okay, so I'm going to go on TV in front of camera and talk about my book? This is crazy. That was definitely outside my comfort zone. But I went ahead and did it anyway, and the rest is history. So
Yeah.
you have to go outside your comfort zone sometimes when you set your goals. In the beginning, just set it a little bit outside. Don't make it too difficult on yourself.
Good. That's good advice. Well, we're almost out of time. Do you have anything else that we need to know? So,
Well,
I don't.
Yeah, I want to leave our show with this. I mean, we've done a lot of
Okay.
shows. I mean, we've done definitely a lot of shows in the past.
Right.
But I would have to tell, and this is our first, I would say, video one, right? With the new software.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's just mark this first time out as saying this may be one of the, if not the most important show that we're going to do, because this lays the
Right.
foundation for everything else.
You're so right on. Yeah, I agree. This is going to be good. And I know everybody's enjoying it. So thank you so much, Dr. David Che. And please go to totallawofattraction.com, and you can get and purchase Dr. David Che's book there. And I suggest it. It is one of the best law of attraction books you'll ever find. I know the listeners love it, because they're always emailing and they're always saying how fabulous this book is. So everybody run and get it if you haven't got it. But listen to these steps. And he's right on target. So thank you, Dr. David Che.
Thanks so much, Jules. We'll see you again next time, okay?
You've got it, next month. Thank you so much. And to all my wonderful listeners out there, have a great time. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show from Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you'd like to comment on tonight's show, send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com, and have a great week.